If you want your models to look good without thinking about it too much, I think the secret is angle. A bit of angle. Do you know what I mean? If this is your base, then you just add the slightest bit of angle. And that's what your miniature stands on. It basically instantly makes any model look interesting. Like this one, it adds so much dynamicism by just making the base go on a bit of a tilt. And I made the base first and then just built the model on top of it. Same with this one. A little bit of angle. This one's pretty straight. Oh wait, no, it's got angle. Angle everywhere. Angling my bases, the miniatures on top of my bases, has been like the cheat code of making my models look a little bit more put together. So I'm going to show you how to do it easily and stress-free. Wait, this model... Oh, nearly dropped it. This model is from Kira Creations. This was a very lovely gift I got sent in the post. But this is also an example of the angle. Bloody nice. Even on this little orc, there's a bit of an angle to it. I just propped up its little foot with a bit of debris, and now it's dynamic. The angle. You'll start seeing it everywhere in everything I do. If every single model is also an angle, then it all looks kind of silly. You need a couple that aren't angles. Anyway, I'll show you how to do it. We're going to use this model as an example. I chose this model because it particularly wants to be flat. Big flat feet on a little base. This model wants to be flat, but it'd be much cooler at an angle. I'm just going to have a little rummage in the bits box real quick. Find what shrapnel we can. This is what I found. Model aeroplane bits, this piece too, some sort of Gundam bit, I don't know, a bit of cheese, pipe, and some official Games Workshop, very expensive terrain offcut, and a bit of electrical nub. After all these years, I've kind of turned into a bit of a glove guy, which I'm saying like it's something uncool. It's not, but I do buy the black ones because they make me feel cool. I just don't love smelling like Milliput anymore, funnily enough. Milliput is my preferred material for this because it's cheap. You really don't need too much, just enough to cover the base a little bit. You could always use a little bit of green stuff if you mixed up too much of that too. I generally carry some shrapnel to make bases with in my bits box, and if someone has a little bit of leftover green stuff, I put it to use. So, bung a ball right in the middle. Don't overthink it. Just do it. In fact, this will work better if you show the Milliput that you're not scared of it, so you're immediately going to glue it to the base. The glue kind of makes an instant bond, and your models aren't going to fall off in like 6 months. Then we just grab some lovely bits of shrapnel and just start shoving it in, like around the sides. Shove it into the ball of Milliput. And you're not trying to overthink it. You're just jamming stuff in where it will fit. You know, I really thought I was recording here. I wasn't. All I did was roll up a little ball of Milliput and put it on the top. And get a bigger chunk like this, or you could cut up a bit of plastic card. This is from like HO model railway stuff, the little tiny bricks, whatever. This will look good at 28mm painted. Maybe some scrapbooking material. That's a nice texture. Cut that up into little chunks. Same with this, corrugated cardboard. But this is what I found, and this goes with the rest of my army. We just lay that on that ball, and we push it down so it makes a little ramp. Then we get our model and we line it up and we push it down until it stops looking ridiculous. Like that. That's a very fine angle, but this will look really good. So we've got a little angle happening, and we've got also these little exposed, squished down Milliput chunks. And that's when we grab a smaller shrapnel and we break it up into very fine pieces, and we just start shoving it in. Wherever there's exposed Milliput, we just push it in. There's a little gap in here, and I think that would be perfect for a bit of styrene tube. Styrene tube is like one of my favorite things to have in my bits box now. I use it for everything. These little tube cutters aren't just good for cutting brass tubes or metal tubes. They're really good for cutting styrene. In fact, they're really good for cutting styrene, and just a couple of bucks from the hardware shop. You don't have to use the same glues that I'm using. You don't have to use the same pieces. All my models I make basically differently because it all depends on what I have access to at that moment. And then just use the back of a paintbrush to blend in that Milliput, make it look a bit more organic, push it around, break up that surface, don't make it look like a blob. And that is a pretty cool, sick angled base. But now we need to attach this model to it, and it's going to look kind of doofy. So we're going to bulk out the feet, the back of it, with a little bit of Milliput, just at like the heels. Then just cover the whole feet and Milliput in glue. And now we commit. Then we squish this down, make it look organic. Make it look natural. Our bad boy orc is now on an angle. The base looks more dynamic, looks more interesting, but not weird and wobbly. At this point, I also like to shove some more plastic chunks behind the shoes. In this magical container is guitar strings. Super fine guitar strings. I actually like the thicker ones better, but I'm all out. I heard that you get bass strings if you want thicker ones. This is perfect for adding to basses. See, you really benefit from having lots of different scales on your bass. Big things, little things, thick things, small things. It all adds up. Especially thin little details like this. You know, I think some of these dangly bits are a little bit excessive, so I'm just going to snip them off. And glue the offcut behind the foot. These tiny little details, they really break up the surface. Like, they go a really long way. Don't underestimate little detail in terms of breaking up like really obvious angles or really obvious crimes that you're trying to hide. A little bit can really distract the eye. Another idea is this piece, the terrain element is tilted, but the models are straight up. But like, it makes it look fast and dynamic, and the world is being eaten and consumed by NIDS, but these guys are so fast. They're upright still, you know? You can also be kind of chill with your angles as well. Like these models, the angles aren't super obnoxious, but there is a little bit of off-kilterness to it because I treated these models the exact same way. Put down a dot of Milliput and then smush the base plate on top, and it's never going to be like perfectly flat, and it adds a bit of oomph, right? All right.